You're listening to the Back Home Network, presented by Homefield Apparel.
Hello, Hoosier fans, and welcome to the 12th and final episode of the Grace Berger Show for this season. We are produced by Assembly Call on the Back Home Network. I'm Jeff Marlow, your host, along with the star of our show, Grace Berger. And today's episode will be an AMA, Ask Me Anything episode with questions from our community discussion page at assemblycall.com. And I'd like to introduce Grace and give her a chance to say a few things.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that it's our last episode. I've had a lot of fun working with you and getting questions from the fans and kind of interacting with them and just, giving them kind of an insight into Indiana women's basketball. So I'm excited for one last final episode.
And I'll kind of start off, Grace, with a question that you and I, we chatted about off air a little bit after the last episode that had come out right before we did that episode. So I wasn't ready to ask a bunch of questions about it, but you are part of the new Hoosiers for Good collective, NIL collective, not with the university because it's not associated with the university, but you're part of the Hoosiers for Good NIL collective. If you could just tell us a little bit about Hoosiers for Good and what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, when I got reached out, it's something that I was super excited about just because I think it gives all of us an opportunity to kind of give back to the community, that means so much to all of us as IU athletes and that support us and kind of give back to them. And then obviously adding the NIL aspect to it makes it, kind of an interesting thing, something that's never really been done before. So, it's really cool experience. Me and Mackenzie will be working with Indiana Wish. They're based out of Indianapolis and just, work with sick kids across the state. So this summer and into next year, we'll kind of get to travel around the state and up to Indy. And just really get to meet some of these kids and work with them. So, we're hoping that we can have an impact on them, but we certainly know that, this work is going to have a lot of impact on us too. So we're really excited about it.
And so when Hoosiers for Good approached you, did they have in mind Indiana Wish, or was that more of did they like, hey, Grace, is there a group that you would be interested in being with?
I think, they did the interview process, interviewed each of us, and then just kind of figured out which organizations would be the best match for each person. So, they thought Indiana Wish would be a good match for me and Mackenzie, and they kind of recommended that to us. And then we got to talk to the workers over there, and, we really, clicked right away. So I think it's something that we're both sides are really excited about.
So you have had the opportunity to meet with some of the Indiana Wish people already.
Yeah, we got to kind of meet to them and give an overview of what they want from us and what events we'll be doing coming up. So like I said, we're really excited.
And we're looking forward to those. I know that we had Tyler Asher, my co-host Kathy Amos, and I on the Doing the Work podcast had Tyler Asher from Hoosiers for Good on with our last episode. And he talked about two things. One, that there's, some of the expectations that you have, all the athletes have in Hoosiers for Good, not just you, but also that he kind of tried to pair up athletes like you and Mackenzie because it would be able to work easier around your schedules, he thought.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, me and Mackenzie obviously have different schedule than the volleyball players and the soccer players and all that. So it's definitely, makes it really convenient that we're able to work together.
Did you happen to know anything? Before they approached you, did you know anything about Hoosiers for Good, or was it like the very first time that you'd heard about it?
Yeah, I think they kind of tried to keep it pretty secretive for the first few months just because everything wasn't final. We hadn't signed the contract. So I hadn't seen anything about it on social media or anything. So when they reached out to me, that was kind of the first time I'd heard about it.
Okay. And you being a fifth, coming back now for your fifth year of basketball, you've kind of been on both sides of the NIL. And we're seeing some things out in the media and people are really kind of hammering on NIL. What do you think are some of the positives for student athletes, if you can? I mean, I'm not trying to make you the spokesperson for NIL in total, but you've been on both sides before NIL and now, kind of in the NIL era.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great thing, at least from my perspective. Obviously, there's some other things going on, especially like in men's basketball where it might not be the best thing in the world. But for me and for my teammates, we've just been able to, kind of, the community supports us so much in terms of coming to the game and supporting women's basketball. And so now to kind of be able to get paid for, what we do, I think it's just an added benefit. Obviously, we're still here to play basketball, and that hasn't changed on our end from what I've seen. We're still athletes, students and athletes first, but to be able to work with some of the local businesses has been really cool. I think it's been good to kind of give me some, real world experience, having to do taxes for the first time and stuff like that. I think, and just, learning how the business world works, working with companies myself and with my parents. It's just been a really good experience that I think obviously benefits me and my teammates now, but will in the future as well.
And I think you bring up a good point about being able to work with people in the community and things that you probably would have done a lot of anyway, but now there's just an added benefit to it, as you said. And again, I guess I'm probably an awkward way of phrasing it, but just have you had several opportunities in the community? Because I'm not in Bloomington. So have you had several opportunities to do things in the community since NIL has been initiated?
Yeah. And I think I'm going to, start doing more this summer, just because last year it was kind of, you didn't really know what to expect. And then the season came. So my main focus has always been school and basketball. But now that the season's over and we get some kind of free time, I've, doing some deals, have some deals in the work with, people in local businesses that I'm really excited about because obviously I love Bloomington. So to be able to have kind of a, them support me, but also, me kind of support them, I think is something that's really cool for me.
The last question about NIL and with this, I know officially the university is not supposed to have any involvement, but are they allowed to at least, I guess educate's the word I'll use here. Are they allowed to at least educate you about what, and there is kind of a Wild West about the rules, but are they at least allowed to educate you about what NIL is and how you can take advantage of it? I mean, I just don't know. I'm seriously, when I ask that question, I have no idea what they can do for you.
Yeah, IU has been really, really good in terms of, really from the first week, from before it even happened, we knew it was going to take place. We had a meeting with the athletic department, the athletic director, Scott Dolson, and all of them, just to kind of talk about it, the benefits from it, maybe the downfalls of it, just what to be careful about, and definitely the rules. So we've had multiple rules meetings with the compliance department, with other groups. So, we're all really familiar with what we can do and how it can benefit us, but also what to avoid.
And besides NIL, do they do a lot of compliance meetings, or is that maybe like a once at the beginning of the year type thing? Or do they kind of do a periodic compliance meeting with the program?
Yeah, we do regular check-ins. So they'll come in, I'd say like once a month, once every 2 months, and just kind of give us a recap of what's going on. And, the stuff that we do at the big one at the beginning of the year. We have a big meeting and just get recaps throughout the year.
All right. So we'll move on from NIL, but I did think that our fans would be interested in because some people don't listen to our podcast with the Doing the Work or some of the other podcasts. So this is one opportunity they get to know about you and your NIL work.
The Grace Berger Show is presented by Farrall Wealth. Farrall Wealth was founded by former IU All-Big Ten defensive end Greg Farrall, who is now experiencing IU all over again as a parent with 2 girls who are juniors in the IU Media School, interns at the Cuban Center, and own their own business. And Greg learned trust and integrity while playing for legendary coach Bill Mallory, traits he's worked hard to instill in his girls. He also learned how to game plan. Farrall Wealth uses these principles to help high net worth individuals and business owners pursue financial success. Wealth planning is their passion, so you can live yours. Their fiduciary plans include investments, insurance, taxes, executive compensation, and charitable giving in this lifetime and beyond. Like any good team, the IU women's basketball team, for example, you need to plan and work the plan. Well, what is your plan? Contact Farrall Wealth through all socials at Farrall Wealth and their website, farrallwealth.com. That's FARRALL wealth.com. Farrall Wealth is a proud supporter of IU athletics. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisory firm, member FINRA SIPC.
But this will move on. We'll get from Kathy, my co-host. What is your favorite off-season activity that you don't get to do as much of during the season?
I say just traveling is a big thing. Obviously, I travel a lot during the season, but you're always, there for a business trip and to, play a game, obviously. So you're not really getting to sightsee and all that. So just, going to different places. Next week, I'm going to Chicago to go to a Justin Bieber concert. So obviously I can't do that and during the season. So I think just getting a break and getting to travel to see some of my friends and just do different things.
Would never have pegged you as a Bieber fan.
Oh yeah, I'm a big Bieber fan.
Follow up with that then. What's besides Indiana, where's been your favorite place to travel to?
I really liked the Virgin Islands when we went there. I believe that was my sophomore year. It was just obviously a really good tournament, but we got to spend a lot of time just kind of seeing the island and going to the beach and just hanging out. So that was probably my favorite place I've been to so far.
And you mentioned going to a concert. Do you like going to concerts? I mean, do you when you have time, do you go to multiple concerts in the summer, or is it maybe just a one-time thing to see Bieber?
Yeah, I mean, whenever Justin Bieber's on tour, I definitely make sure to go to a concert. But I do enjoy concerts. Obviously, don't have a lot of time for them, but I do enjoy it.
Just kind of when you go on visit, do you have a favorite activity when you go and visit? I mean, are you going to museums, or are you just hanging out, kind of just visiting, or do you have specific things you like to do?
I mean, I have, a lot of, whether they're ex-teammates from high school or college that just kind of live across the country. Mm-hmm. So, I have a couple of teammates in Chicago. So just kind of getting up to stay with them for a couple of days and see the stuff that they do. Obviously I've been to Chicago a lot, but just to see the different things and get different experiences in new cities, I think is something that I enjoy. Did you go to Little Five this year? No, I didn't get to go. I saw a couple of my teammates were honored at the event. So I, kind of lived through them, the experience, but I didn't go myself. All right. Well, that's really not traveling, but I had to ask since Little Five is such a big event. This comes from Sean. What are your off-season goals? I'll start with this just to go with that first. He's kind of a two-part, but what are your off-season goals? I mean, I have a lot of them. Obviously, three-point shooting's a big one for me personally. And then I think just to be a leader for the new team coming in, because we do have so many different people this summer. It's going to be a completely different team with a lot of young freshmen coming in, a lot of transfers coming in. So just kind of stepping up and being that leader because we did lose, some leaders from last year. So, just obviously my three-point shooting on the court, I think is the biggest thing. And then off the court, just being a good leader, using my voice and setting, a good model for them. And just, I think we asked this in the last episode a little bit with you and I, but in case for anybody who missed that, when can the transfers and the incoming freshmen, when are they able to start working out with you? Our transfers will be here, I believe, the first week of June. And we'll all start working out together as a team. And then the freshmen usually come about 2 weeks after that. So we'll get 8 weeks with the transfers and then 6 weeks in the summer with the freshmen. And I think you kind of answered this, but I'll ask the second part of Sean's question. What things are you planning to work on? Yeah, I mean, again, my three-point shooting, that's something I've been saying for the past couple of years. That's a big thing. We'll be in the gym working on that. And then I think, defense, I think, is a big thing that, Coach Morin's never satisfied with for many of us. So even in the summer when it's a lot of skill development, we'll be doing a lot of defense. So just working on that, finishing at the rim, footwork around the rim, maybe posting up smaller guards. So there's a lot of different things that I can kind of work on, but three-point shooting, like I said, is definitely the main focus. Well, that kind of gets me into a couple of follow-ups I had with that is how much, because the summertime rules are totally different than your in-season rules. So how much contact are you allowed to have with the coaches in the summer? And like, for example, how much time can they be on the floor with you? Yeah, so I believe it's 8 hours a week we get total. And then only 4 hours of those can be like actually on the court. So we usually do like I'd say 4, maybe 5, 30 to 45 minute, whether they're individual workouts or small group workouts in the summer. So, pretty much 5 days a week we're on the court with the coaches, one-on-one, or like I said, small groups, just working on what we need to work on.
And at this point, like right now, you still have the people. Okay, first of all, I kind of ask you this, because I don't know NCAA rules. Would the kids who have used up their eligibility, and Allie and Alexa and Nicole, are they allowed to work out with you? Like if you wanted to call them up and say, hey, let's go play over at Cook Hall, could they work out with you?
Yeah, I mean, they can do whatever they want. They don't have to follow NCAA rules anymore. So the coaches can work them out. I could work out with them. So they're still around, still using Cook Hall and all of that.
The reason I ask is, like, for us at the high school level, once you graduate, technically we're not supposed to have you in playing with the younger kids. And that's why I was curious about whether they could come in. So at this point, you talked about leadership. So does that kind of now maybe become your role to, and I know it's probably not as hard as I'm going to make it sound, but be like, hey, let's get over to Cook at 3:30 and we're going to play, an hour of pickup, 5-on-5, 4-on-4, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I mean, definitely just being the oldest, being around the longest. I think, I will kind of take that role, but obviously there's other people, the person that comes to mind, Mackenzie, she'll help me out with that. She's been here 4 years too. So, she'll help me out with that. It's not just solely on my shoulders. Not just that, but all the leadership aspects. So it's definitely a role I'm stepping into, but not by myself.
And this was a question I saw online as I was preparing for the episode this week. And just kind of, when we say it was kind of about high quality reps. And I guess the question is everything you're doing in your off-season workout, and I'm not trying to get you in trouble and answer here. It's just that we always have this vision, I guess my age, like Billy Donovan, there used to be the 3 t-shirt workout where he'd go so hard, he'd sweat through a t-shirt, take it off, do another one, So exactly, is everything done at game speed for you during the off season like this? Is that the goal?
I mean, pretty much everything throughout the season and in the off season is done at game speed, at least, in our program and from what I've seen in college basketball. So we're definitely not on the court for 2-3 hours in the off season. We're just on it, like I said, for 30-40 minutes, getting really intentional game-like reps. So it's definitely game speed, and we're definitely sweating through our t-shirt at the end of the workout.
Yeah. And then, so from that standpoint, how important in the summertime, especially, do you think rest and recovery is to part to the development of your game? And not just your game, but anybody's game, but we're talking about you specifically, obviously.
I think, first of all, you get a lot of rest after the season. We get 2 weeks off, where normally a lot of us aren't really doing anything in terms of basketball, just to give our body a break. And then April and May are really spent working on kind of our bodies, just getting lifts in, getting some conditioning in, and maybe some light basketball. But by the time June rolls around, we're pretty much recovered from the season, had a couple months to recover. And so at that point, we're really, really training hard. And we still get 2 off days a week, at least. So we definitely have time to recover, but when we're going, we're usually going pretty hard.
So how would you judge a good workout versus maybe an average workout? I mean, what's kind of your criteria for you personally?
I think the biggest thing that I learned when I got to college that differentiated a good workout versus an average workout was just, how much intentional work you get in. So in high school, I would be, shooting around for 2-3 hours. Whereas now I'm in there for 25-30 minutes, and I'm getting in a lot more work than I was during those 3 hours in high school. So, I think just not necessarily that it's a long workout, but just that you got good quality workout within that short time period is what I'd probably judge it on.
Okay. And this question comes from Nadia, our 10-year-old fan. She wanted to know, did you do anything different to prepare for the NCAA tournament games, or did you and the team treat it like a normal game?
Yeah, I mean, we treat every game, every game's such a big deal at this level. When there's not a lot of margin for error between you and the next team. So we treat every game serious. I will say in the NCAA tournament, we don't have quite as much warm-up time as we normally do. So We might only have 20 minutes that we kind of have to work with, where normally we'll be on the court for like 2 hours before. So that's definitely different, but the mindset and everything is pretty much the same.
So that's interesting. I never thought about that, because like we'll see pictures on Twitter or on other spots online, like you guys in the gym at Assembly Hall, especially for a home game, where you guys are there, like you said, an hour and a half, 2 hours before getting up shots. Is that kind of NCAA policy, or is that just maybe because you're playing the second game compared to a first game of, so I'm just kind of curious as if whether that's because I find that interesting. You're talking about the difference in warm-up time.
Yeah, I mean, like for the Big Ten tournament, for example, obviously if we're like the second game or the fourth game in a day, you only have a certain amount of time between games. So if you're that first game, you might have a little bit more time just because that's how it works out. But in between the games, I think they try to make it obviously as small of amount of time, as quickly as a turnaround as you can possibly get. So I think 25, maybe 30 minutes is pretty typical in a tournament setting like that.
Support for the Grace Berger Show is brought to you by our friends at Home Field Apparel, where they have one of the most extensive collections of vintage IU apparel that you will find anywhere. And it's not just IU apparel. They have over 100 colleges and universities, and what they do is they go back into history and they pull out old vintage brand marks that haven't been used in a long time, but that still look really cool and that have this really great kind of nostalgic appeal, and they pull them into modern day, and they've created such a great niche because, the actual material that their stuff is printed on, the shirts, the crew neck sweaters, the hoodies, it's really comfortable, it holds up when it's washed, and then the logos all look just so cool. It's just such a unique niche that they have. And you can go to homefieldapparel.com. Again, look through over 40 items of IU apparel. IU is their original school, and so that's what they have the most of. But you can also browse through all of their other colleges and universities as well. And when you're ready to purchase, if it's your first time there, use the promo code HOME, HOME. That will give you 15% off your first order. So again, it's homefieldapparel.com. Use the promo code HOME, HOME, for 15% off your first order. Now back to the show.
Okay. We'll kind of move away just into some kind of general questions, but this one is a little bit athletic related. What is the greatest, just your opinion here, what do you think is the greatest challenge most college athletes / basketball players are facing today?
That's a loaded question.
Maybe it's not a fair question either. I saw that question that somebody had posted in another chat. I thought, about a different discussion. I was just curious what maybe you thought.
I'd say there's a lot of things. I mean, time management has always been such a big thing, just dealing with school, in basketball. And then this day and age, I'd say social media is also a big thing that I think is hard for a lot of athletes, especially the younger ones in college, just because once you make it to college, you obviously have a larger platform. You have a lot more eyes on you, a lot more, pressure from social media, stuff like that. So I think that's a thing that's kind of unique to the time we're living in now. Even with NIL and stuff like that, I'd say there's just more, pressure maybe from social media than obviously there has been in the past. I think
those are awesome answers in terms of kind of putting you on the spot. But you just kind of go back to social media. You are on Twitter. Do you think it's more of younger kids especially have to learn to ignore some of the stuff they may see on social media rather than what they're posting, or a little bit of both?
Yeah, I think we're really lucky because we have a great fan base, obviously. So, most of the things we see is, very nice stuff. And so I do enjoy getting on Twitter, but obviously, every once in a while, I think there's some mean comments, whether it's on an Instagram post or Twitter, that, someone like me who's been here for going on 5 years, it doesn't bother me, but maybe the freshmen coming in, this is the first time they might experience something like that, just being on a platform like playing a sport for Indiana women's basketball. So I think, for the freshmen, it's definitely something that they have to adjust to.
And like with an incoming freshman, is that just kind of a natural thing for one of you to take them under your wing, kind of, to be like, kind of to teach them the ropes? Because, obviously they don't get there till June. So and the transfers are going to be a little different. They're older. They've been through a lot of the stuff. So, is that just something that you guys as a team, the leadership, just like, hey, we need to make sure these kids are doing kind of the IU way, I guess I would put it, the way you guys want it to be done, and understand that some of the stuff on social media and stuff, you can't believe everything and all that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And that's not just in the social media aspect, but Coach Morin's really big on, I think, having us being a player-led team. So the older, girls like me, like Mackenzie, that have been here for 4 or 5 years, we know how Coach Morin wants things. We know what we stand for and how we want to represent IU. And so, we recruit really good kids. So they're all really good kids, but they're definitely, for any freshman is a transition period, maybe where there needs, just how they mature throughout their first couple of years of college. So, as soon as they get here, we're definitely going to show them how things are done on the court, in the classroom, on social media, all of that stuff.
And you are a grad student, as we've talked about a couple different times on the show. Will you be taking classes this summer? Like summer school classes?
Yeah. So we all have to take classes in the summer so we can work out.
Okay.
So if we didn't take classes, I don't believe we could work out. So, we're all doing both. Yeah. I
did not realize that was part of the rule. I knew a lot of kids did, but I didn't realize there was a kind of that stipulation to it. That being said, I'll kind of go to this question. I had it a little out of order, I guess. And maybe the pandemic has done away some of this. Maybe if something more of your freshman year or your sophomore year before the pandemic. Does the team do any retreats or activities in the summer for team bonding? Like, you used to see teams go off and do like a camp for a weekend or a zip line trip. So have you guys done those type of things in the program?
We've never, gone away on a weekend trip like that. But we definitely do team bonding things all the time. Not necessarily, camps like that, but just to spend time with each other, especially with such a new team this summer. We'll do a lot of things just to get to know each other, whether that's attending, a WNBA game up in Indy or, going out to dinner as a team or going, one thing we like to do is go on the boat on Lake Monroe. So there's a bunch of different things that we've done in the past that we'll definitely do, especially in the summer when we have a little bit more free time.
That being said, you just kind of lost my train of thought here. You were talking about the summer once the kids get there. I lost my train of thought. That's because you mentioned something that it clicked for me for about 20 seconds. All of a sudden, I lost my train of thought. My apologies. But you were talking about the younger kids coming in and such an important part of getting them acclimated. I know it was, and I think you've answered this before on another. But do you guys? Or you've mentioned you have an apartment, you and a few of your teammates have an apartment. Do the freshmen, they live in the dorms, correct?
Yeah, they'll live in Briscoe dorm.
Okay. So yeah, so you're not all like in a living facility together, like some places I've seen, at least, in some sports anyway. So I thought you'd answer that. And I couldn't remember that as well. Another question I got for you, and this is kind of, again, just a general question. What's the best piece of non-basketball advice you've gotten from coaches that you wouldn't mind sharing with our fans?
I think Coach Morin is just really big on treating people right. And that has nothing to do with basketball. Mm-hmm. She always says to do the little things when nobody's watching, whether that's, talking to somebody that, talking to the janitor that works at Cook Hall, just getting to know those people that are really helping you out as a student athlete at IU, or even she loves to use this example, putting your shopping cart up after you shop at Kroger or Walmart or whatnot. Just, doing the right thing, being a good person, treating people right, because obviously no matter what aspect of life you're talking about, whether that be basketball or your work life or personal life or anything like that, treating people right will always come back around, and I think be good karma for you in the future. So she's just really big on being a good person off the basketball court.
Yeah, and I guess we always kind of used to talk with our players kind of about the same thing, but is it, you played high school basketball, and obviously I'm not trying to tell anybody everything we don't know, but I mean, you're on a campus of 30,000+ kids. Bloomington itself, besides the students when they're there, pretty good sized city, but yet still that idea that people know who you are even when you won't know who they are.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, I think, something that's special to me when I'm out in public, and especially the little girls will come up to me and just tell me how much, our team means to them and how good of role models we are for them. And I think that's something that means a lot to me, just because, not that long ago, I was obviously that little girl looking up to women's college basketball players around where I was from. So I think, anytime someone recognizes us and just tells me how much, our program has meant to them personally, I think it's something that's really special to me.
Because I know sometimes you'll hear people, not in IU, but I mean, you just see people like general people who will be like, which seem to be so hard to be kind of in that fishbowl where everybody is like, that was Grace Berger. And there's not much anonymity anymore, I guess, for a Division I athlete.
Yeah, I mean, with social media and everything, everybody kind of knows. And then obviously with the success we've had as a women's basketball team, I think we've gotten more publicity and people kind of recognize us locally, but it's definitely a really good thing for sure.
And speaking of publicity, I was just thinking of this as well. ESPN came out with their way too early top 25 today. And I know you will be one who will say it doesn't matter what ESPN says in May, but they had you guys at number 11 in case you didn't see it. And again, a lot of puzzle pieces that have to be put into the puzzle now with some kids leaving and kids coming in. But do you feel like there's still that same kind of vibe about going into next season with what your goals have become to go deep into the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody really realizes how excited we are as a team about the new pieces that we're bringing in. Obviously, some really, really good transfers that again, I don't think people necessarily realize how good they're going to be for us. So, and then the freshmen, they might not be McDonald's All-Americans or anything like that, but they're really talented. I've obviously, got to know them and got to watch them play some. So, we're really excited about next year. We feel like we have every bit, as good as a team as we did last year. And we feel like, we're easily a top 10, top 5 team in the country. So we really like the pieces we have, and we're really excited about next year for sure.
And the fan base, I think, is still as excited as they've been the last couple of years. And that's because they understand what you guys, between, especially you, Mac, the returning kids, and they're excited, as you said, about some of the newcomers. We're excited to see them as well. So, Grace, I'll give you a chance here to kind of wrap up this episode. If you got anything else you'd like to add to our fans, or just to, any thank yous you may want to make as we wrap up the Grace Berger Show for the season.
Yeah, I mean, first, I just want to thank you for making it happen. Obviously, thank Assembly Call for making it happen. It's been a lot of fun just to have the opportunity to talk about Indiana women's basketball. And it's something that I'm so excited about. And, you slowly see the community getting, just as excited about us, and really our following's growing. So I just want to thank, you all for giving me the opportunity to talk about women's basketball and kind of grow that as much as I can in our community. It's been a really fun experience. And then obviously the fans, thank you for listening to the show and just supporting our team throughout the year. And I just, hope we can get the same support next year. And I know we will. So I mean, it's just anytime I can talk about Indiana women's basketball, it's something that I'm extremely grateful for. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And thank you for being such a great star of our show. And I really have enjoyed the time with you. And Grace and I would both like to thank Farrall Wealth and Home Field Apparel for their sponsorship of the show this season. We both like to thank Jared Morris and Assembly Call for the opportunity of this show. Jared giving me the opportunity to host and to reaching out to Grace to make it happen. Like Grace said, thank you to the listeners, the viewers of the show, and the ones who've submitted questions as well over the season. And last, I want to thank Grace for being so willing to give her time. She is a student athlete, and we're talking off air here. She just finished up her last final this morning. So she's been, obviously a busy person and student athlete. And I want to thank her for making time for me on these 12 episodes. And she's a great ambassador of the IU women's program, and the fan base is very grateful grateful for her being an Indiana Hoosier. And we hope that everybody's enjoyed the show this season. And again, hopefully, if you enjoyed it and you're watching this on the YouTube feed, you can put in comments and let us know what you have thought of the show. And again, want to wish Grace and everything a good summer, and have, a safe summer as she goes out after school ends. So we hope that everybody has enjoyed it, like I said, and that's all we have for this episode. For Grace Berger, I'm Jeff Marlow. Until we speak again, remember, go Hoosiers.